Hello everyone, welcome to my first edition for this week. And as you can see, I have written down all the works I'm going to do for this week. And my first edition for today is quite unlike my usual first edition because I'm going to include my detailed plan into it too. And without further ado, let's go into my first edition then. So first of all, I'm going to recap of what I have and haven't done for last week. So last week I did all the work. I sent in all the work. In fact, Mrs. Trust said that my third edition is excellent for the first try. Now, it's for the first try, meaning that it's excellent for the first try, but it's not the requirement that Mrs. Pratt needs. And so I'm committed to make the requirement to have to complete the requirements that Mrs. Fan set out for me. We have discussed in our meeting too, and as you can see, the solution based on the discussion inside the meeting. And so, what I haven't done for this last week is that I don't think I have done a good job yet. For my opinion, Mrs. Fan said a very good job for me, but I don't think so because it's not a very high quality work like my second edition a few weeks ago. So that is what I want to improve. Now let's go into the detailed plan and the topic for next week. So for next week, last week I did cover about the ins and out or how data enter and exit out of a system, right? And so for this mainly D2, I'm going to continue with that, but this time process and store of a system. So do you remember last time I said that when data enter, it is either processed or it is stored for later use, and then it will exit the system. So we will continue with that, data processed and stored of system. Okay, so what I am going to do is, let me erase the third edition is of the solution, so nothing really important. I will cover the topic for third edition later. So what I'm going to do is, for my main work, I'm going to just the general theory. So general theory of process and store. For example, how does data stored? How? Let's answer the question of how. How can data stored be processed and stored? What type of data can be processed and stored? Where data is stored? Of course, it's in the system, but where in the system? Then update the graph, the diagram, the graph. Okay. So last week, my second edition, I put in the graph, the diagram of the data flow system, right? And so I will update the graph based on the process and store. So then what I'm going to do for the second day is a bit more complicated and a bit more fixed. So I'm going to cover the steps to D2. I'm going to cover the steps to transform data. So what steps does it include? First step is aggregation. And my D2 is going to be video. And second step is filtering. Third step and final is computation. Okay, so this is the thing that I'm going to do for my second DE as a video. And for my main work, it will be a main work. It will be a writing, and I will also put the graph, the updated graph of my main work in it too. So let me add one thing before I move on, is that I'm going to main work plus is that I'm going to add in the dashboards, user interface, applications, blah blah blah. So it is how data process, how it interacts with the dashboard, the user interface, the applications, and things like that. Not a big deal. So moving on to my third day edition. I'm going to cover what we have covered last week, and last week I covered an automation solution. I covered a lot of automation solutions about my about the shopping, the management, and the what's it again? Supply chain management. So I did give an example of Amazon, but for this week, D3, it will be completely about Amazon. So that is my company that I'm going to implement my automation solution. I will update my automation. Update the solution. Okay, so I will concentrate into automation application worldwide because Amazon is not a Vietnamese company. It is English company, and yeah, it was in English or United States. I think it was an English company, and so it was created in Britain, right? So I don't remember, but this is my company that I'm going to go for. I'm going to identify all the gaps or the solutions that they have brought out, but I'm not satisfied with it. I will update their solutions to what I'm satisfied with. So this is my D3 for this week. And of course, it will always be a video. That is my D3 and D2 for this week. So how am I going to approach it? Now how am I going to approach it is that how I'm going to approach my D3 is, of course, I'm going to do 4 steps. First is find or identify. Find the gap, identify the area where I want to improve. Next is think about how I will improve it. Next is test of how the test, and then if it is good, and then proceed with the final is apply it into the system. If it is not good, go back to step 3, test again. If the test suddenly fails, just think more, and the step process again and again and again. Let me chart this down. Think, no, not think, sorry, identify. Think, test, and finally is apply. So ITTA, the ITTA method. So identify, think, test, and apply. If test failed, go back to identify, and then identify, go back to think. Test, if test failed, go back to identify, go to the process until it is applied. I'm good enough with it. So I'm going to do this in the background, meaning that I'm not going to blot out the whole process because it will be a long video if I'm trying to brainstorm, think, test through my whole entire video. So I'm going to bring out the final solution that I have in my third day edition video. So that is how I plan to approach my third day edition. So I think that will be all for my first day edition for this week. Thank you for listening and see you next time.